evening. How's it going? First, I'd like to thank John and Coach Ward and all the committee members for having this great evening for us. I can finally use all the lessons I learned in my freshman etiquette class. Which fork to use, all that kind of stuff. Thank you to my parents, my family who came a long ways to share this special night with me. The parents they're our first supporters, they're our first fans. Before Uber, they're our Uber. Countless uniforms being cleaned and life lessons on the way home, and don't get so mad, it's just one game, don't worry about it, that kind of stuff. That's invaluable for athletes, and looking back, you can always point to certain things, but when you're in the moment, you don't appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you guys for always supporting me and never saying no. Thank you for Coach Morris, JD, Gino for recruiting me, believing in me, and having the abilities to play at UM. I've actually got to play for the last 3 UM baseball coaches, which is kind of rare. Coach Morris obviously retired, and then Gino, and then JD's this is his first year, so that's kind of rare to have played for the last 3 coaches. Thank you for not cutting me after my freshman year. And thank you for not kicking me off the team after my sophomore year. And thank you for making me a reliever. I kind of made it easy after my last start ever. I gave up 6 runs in 1/3 of an inning at Florida. But thanks for having the foresight of seeing another aspect you could use me as. And it changed my life. Ever since you guys moved me into the bullpen, my career really took off, and my belief in myself really took off. And, life is not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. So after my sophomore year, I had a couple life lessons learned, and it served me through the rest of my life so far. Let's see. The first time I ever stepped on campus was the summer of 2001. It was my sophomore year in high school. I just finished. Our high school baseball coach is like, hey, let's take a trip to Miami and go to Jim Moore's baseball camp. And I had been a fan of the football team basically because I go the other way. And where I grew up in Bradenton, Florida, it's all Florida State fans. And early 90s, Miami whooped their ass every time in football. And I kind of liked that. So I grew up a Miami fan for football. As I got better at baseball, I realized they had a damn good baseball program too. So the first time I came on campus was actually like 3 or 4 days after they won the 2001 national championship. And, Jim Moore's baseball camp is a baseball camp. There's kids running around, throwing balls here, pitching there, hitting there. It's kind of a way to pay the players back in the day. So I was a pitcher. So I was a pitcher in high school, and, hey, pitchers go to the right. So, I go over to that group. They're like, hey, anybody throw 90? Just curious. I raise my hand. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll see. All right. So I sit down, wait 5 or 10 minutes for everybody else to start throwing, and then they call my name, 2 guys at a time. I warmed up, threw 4 or 5 pitches, and they're like, hey, Perez, sit down. And I was like, did I do something wrong? Like, what's going on here? I sat there for another 20, 30 minutes while everybody else threw. And then they're like, Perez, you're up again. And, I've been sitting down for 20, 30 minutes. So at this time, I noticed that Coach Morris had been doing stuff with the hitters. And Laser, who was the pitching coach then, was not there either. But they were making their way behind the mound. And they're like, Perez, you're up. Just you. I was like, okay. So I warmed up, threw my pitches, probably 10 or 15. Knees shaking. The head coach is right behind me. He just won a national championship. And I guess it went really well because from that day on, every single time they recruited a new player or won a baseball game, I got a letter. And, that being my number one school, that just made my life as a sophomore in high school. So that was my beginning of my love affair with UM. When I first arrived at Miami the fall of my freshman year, there's no way I ever thought I would end up in the Hall of Fame like this. That's not the goal when you come to a place like Miami. It's not to end up in the Hall of Fame or, I was just trying to make the team. Especially, my freshman year, the team, they lost no players. They had every single player coming back, and that was Jim Burt's last year, his 5th-year senior year. They had just lost in Omaha. So the whole team's back, and here come 8 freshmen who are trying to make this team, right? I had actually thought I signed up for the cross-country team because we ran so much. My mom calls those my skinny years. I didn't know what they were at the time, but every night I prayed for shin splints. please just give me a week off. I can do the rehab. That's not a problem. But running, 15 miles a day, it seemed like was I'm not built for comfort. I'm built for speed. So, but all that hard work and character building led to my second career, which was the major leagues. And JD, one of the biggest things that I took away from him, I was actually part of his first pitching class because he actually came halfway through my freshman year after Laser got let go. And it wasn't so much mechanics or, hey, you need to hold your pitch this way. It was more mental. He had just came from AAA. He never had the best stuff, and he'll tell you this. He never had the best stuff, but he's UM's all-time winning pitcher for a reason. And he knew how to pitch, and he had internal fortitude, and he had an inner belief stronger than people around him had. And that's the biggest thing I took away from JD in my time at UM was my inner belief. And, when you get to the big leagues, everybody's talented. So what separates you? And it's that inner belief that nobody's going to beat me today, and I'm going to come out on top, and we're going to win this game. And for whatever reason, as soon as I got to the bullpen, with JD giving me that mental toughness, it just clicked. I wasn't drafted out of high school. That was a hard thing for me, not getting drafted. You think you're good, and all the rankings come out and say you should be drafted here, you should be drafted there. But I had a great fallback, and that's UM. And my life changed because I came to UM. There's friendships and lessons learned that I couldn't get if I would have played pro ball when I was 17 years old. And my two biggest fans are here. My grandma Perez, she made the trip. And then, of course, if you're around the baseball program, you know about the Birdman and his infamous dinners. And he's been one of my biggest supporters from the time he's ever met me, from a no-name at Miami to being the closer to pro ball to everything. And, it's those kind of relationships that make coming back here special. I don't make it here as often as I like just because life and kids and everything, but I have a pretty good reason to keep coming back now. And, congratulations to all my fellow inductees. Being a D1 athlete is a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, some luck, but we've all made it, and being rewarded in this way is so humbling, and I'm appreciative of the committee for thinking of me, and go Canes. Yeah.